The only way you can take CBS Sports Radio 1140 with you is with the radio.com app. Download it today and listen to us anytime, anywhere. We've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Back to the Silver and Black Tonight. Again, talking Raiders football, of course, as we always do, but just a difficult week for the entire sports world here in the United States and across the world, actually. And that's the thing we're going to talk about to start the show, because if we didn't, it would not seem right, especially with my partner here, my co-host, Chaz Osborne, and his background and his career. Of course, for those of you who don't know, Chaz was a Lakers scout. He worked for the Los Angeles Lakers 14 years, worked around Kobe Bryant quite a bit. And so we're going to remember Kobe Bryant here. Also, Raiders players and the team itself very upset, like everybody else, of course, about Kobe Bryant. And Derek Carr, will hear from him in a little while here. So it's obviously a night that we want to remember Kobe Bryant to start off. We'll get to some Raider football after this first segment, but now I bring in one said Chaz Osborne. Yep. And Chaz, clearly you were on the Playmakers yesterday here on CBS Sports Radio to talk a little bit about being around Kobe, working around Kobe. Mm-hmm. It's still hard to grasp, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like when you get hit in the gut, and you lose your air for a minute. It's hard to get your air back for this one. This one's going to take a while. I've just been, running the gamut of emotions, right? Just sadness and disbelief, the joy and frustration. It's bewildering, really.
It is. And Chaz, we want to start and talk about, first of all, the first thing we want to do, of course, is send our condolences to not only Kobe's family, but also all of those that perished on the helicopter flight, because there are other families involved, and just ridiculous. 3 beautiful young women, basketball players, of course, that were on the Mamba team, along with Kobe's daughter, Gigi. So we want to remember them and make sure that people don't forget that, of course, Kobe Bryant, his daughter, with fame and fortune and all that, people know them and of course, grieving. But there's a lot of families grieving, a lot of friends grieving, including, your friends in the Laker organization, Chaz. Yeah. And it's something that's it's going to take time, buddy. It's going to take time, right, for everybody to come to grips with the finality of it, but also to realize what he meant to the community in Los Angeles and the basketball community around the world.
Global. That's the thing. I probably had 70 or 80 texts and, about 20 or so phone calls from just, friends that wanted to talk it out and, thanking me for giving them tickets over the years. That, they got to see that incredible show that it was Kobe Bryant. And then, that's just my little bubble. And, that's 100 people right there. So just think about global, worldwide. We saw it with the Pro Bowl, them taking a moment of silence and the Grammys and just all the other sporting stars, Tiger Woods and tennis stars. And, his reach was just farther than we could imagine.
Yeah, that's I think what people are realizing. And for me, not a huge NBA fan, of course, always kept in touch with you around the Lakers, and I grew up a Clipper fan because we were in San Diego and unfortunately got that disease. Finally getting better now. But still, he was an athlete that impacted, especially generational. If you're under 30, Kobe Bryant is the guy.
Kobe's your guy, yeah.
Right? I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. And so I think for some of us who might be older and even older than I, it's hard to understand how people are so upset over this, because number one, if you're older than 50 years old, I mean, think about when John Lennon was assassinated. Think about when, for example, if you're a Yankee fan, Thurman Munson, went down on the airplane. Roberto Clemente went down in an airplane helping out hurricane victims in Puerto Rico. You go to other things like President Kennedy's assassination. That was before my time. But if you're of that age, then maybe you can understand a little bit about what some people are going through now, because for them, he's not just a basketball player, Chaz. That's the other thing too, is you were around him a lot. Talk about that and how when you saw him around people, the impact he had on them. Gravitated towards him and loved him for.
It's hard. There's such a long, watching him growing up from a teenager all the way till now. There's two separate Kobes. There was a Black Mamba, was kind of this alter ego that he created that just crushed your spirit on the basketball court, right? And then, Kobe. Caring person that I'm really happy that the rest of the world got to see that, because that's truly who he was. In the beginning, I told a little bit of the story on the Playmakers yesterday, how when he first started out, the media and everybody kind of saw him as maybe abrasive, or they weren't sure. And all it really was just his singular focus to be the best basketball player ever. And, he was up 4 a.m. His workout routine is everybody knows, just by far, greater than anybody ever insane. And
he just worked his tail off constantly.
And so that's the younger Kobe, and just work. And even, and he came back and he still wanted to work on moves. It's like, you've already got 5 championships. You're 20 years in. What do you need to work on? And that was just the kind of person he was. I'm really glad that people got to see that other side of him. The intellectual father, creative, kind, just loving guy. Kobe loved kids. Kobe was great with my son. He met him when he was little. A few years later, my son went to the Kobe basketball camp up in Santa Barbara, and so about a year before he retired, Kobe asked me, how my son was doing, and he asked me what size shoes he wore. And I said, 13. And so Kobe gave me a pair of his shoes. These are size 14, but he'll grow into them, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then
he did.
and a year later, Kobe gave me another pair. And I said, he's 14 now. Okay, well, here, take another pair. That's just the kind of person he was. He remembered things about people. He remembered their kids and families and stories, and he loved kids, and you saw it with his kids. He spent, after he retired, his kids were his world.
It was funny. The thing.
And we played, it was Houston, Oklahoma City. So when we landed at LAX that night after the Oklahoma City game, Kobe gets off the plane, he goes over and gets in his helicopter. I'm standing on the tarmac, here's the coaches and other players and training staff, and we're all standing there like, kids at Cape Canaveral watching the rocket go off. Just here goes Kobe taking off in his helicopter. And I was standing next to Byron Scott, and Byron Scott looks at me and says, "There's cool, and then there's Kobe cool."
Yeah, and Chaz, that's the thing with this loss, and of course, so hard for me to to see kids involved here too. I mean, bad enough that you lose somebody like Kobe Bryant, but clearly there's issues there. But I want to read some of our viewers who are with us on YouTube and listeners. Mark Allen Bell, who's with us every week, says, "Hey guys, sad week. My daughter and I watched every game at first. I explained to her at the end, and she explained to Dad. Really miss those moments watching Kobe do Kobe together."
Yep.
So, Mark, shout out to you and your daughter. Our best to you guys. And then Wendy Pierre, who we met Wendy in London, one of our longtime listeners and viewers. She says, "Hey guys, listening tonight because of Chaz.
Hey, Wendy.
I've been so sad for 3 days, unable to even deal with real life. So bad about all the students in the schools where their coaches are gone too."
Yeah.
So Wendy, thanks for watching. And I think that's the point. I think that's the point of what we wanted to do tonight too, is a little bit of therapy.
Yeah.
Because
cathartic.
even though it's not Raider football per se, and we're going to talk about the impact on Raiders, because that's the other thing, Chaz, is Kobe Bryant had such a profound impact on other athletes, which is not surprising, right? I mean, you have other athletes, when they see somebody who has work ethic like Kobe Bryant, they emulate him, and they utilize what he did, especially from a training.
Unparalleled work ethic.
Right.
Where he worked harder, and he worked smarter than anyone I've ever seen or heard of. His competitiveness, toughness, but most of all his mentality. You know, we laugh at Marshawn Lynch talking about y'all take care of y'all's mentals, but it's true. Kobe was mentally stronger than his opponent every time he stepped on the court.
Right, and that's that whole Mamba mentality. But one play for you to bring it back to the Raiders here for a little bit. When Derek Carr injured his leg in 2016, broke his leg. First of all, Derek Carr was a Kobe fan before that.
Right.
But in this clip from back then, he's talking about how watching Kobe and the mentality and how he worked helped him recover. So here's Derek Carr on Kobe Bryant.
When I was young, I wanted to follow the most competitive person I could find. And so out of everyone I looked at, I thought that Kobe was the most competitive person out there. And so I began to read, I watched videos.
Kobe looks like he's on a mission tonight.
Interviews, documentaries, everything. And as I began to watch him and learn, and then I'd watch him work on the court in practice, then I would watch him play in the games, and it inspired me, instilled a work ethic in me that my dad taught me. He taught me what hard work was, and then watching Kobe showed me how to do it. That to me is why I love that guy so much. To have someone like that you've looked up to forever reach out, it inspired me even more, and it drives me every single day to where we can just win championships, because that's what he did.
Yeah, and that was Derek Carr, and because Kobe Bryant actually tweeted at Derek Carr back after he got injured when he broke his leg in that game, and so Derek Carr talking about that. So again, that's the thing with Kobe Bryant. And we're going to run out of time, and we'll come back and talk a little bit about it too, Chaz. But I want you to touch on that, because Kobe Bryant was often misunderstood. People, especially early on, people thought he was a little bit standoffish, a little bit cocky as a younger guy. But in reality, it was a focus, and we can learn from that. But also, he had a funny side. He was lighthearted, and I want you to talk about that. But and we'll tell some stories, because I think people like to hear some stories. You were on the inside, so you get to hear some of those stories. But and his family. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you met Vanessa and the kids, and I can only imagine what they're going through. And the good news for them, though, is that there'll be so much support for them. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And that Laker family's still close.
Absolutely. That's the one great thing about the Lakers. It's the same thing with the Raiders. Once a Raider, always a Raider. Well, the Lakers, they take care of their own, and they're the best support system that you could have right there.
Yeah, and it's of course, the game with the Clippers was canceled, Chaz, which I thought was the right thing to do. Right.
Yeah, people talked about canceling the games yesterday and today, and it's like, it's one thing, but for it to hit home right there in L.A., both teams in L.A., and he's right there, the king of the city, basically, that was the right thing to do. They need to figure out how to grieve and how to deal with this, and everybody, that it just wouldn't be fair to get out there and play a game.
All right, we're going to step aside when we come back. We'll talk and remember and hear some more stories from Chaz and about Kobe Bryant and his time with the Lakers. You're listening to the Silver and Black tonight, on CBS Sports Radio, CBS Sports Radio 1140.
When you need inside info on your Raiders, you'll find it here. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Tonight. Sorry, I went to the break saying today. It was just 2 days ago, hey. But we are here. We're doing a little bit of therapy for Raiders fans. Chaz, and I'm with Chaz Osborne, of course, my co-host, not only here but also on Silver and Black Today on Sundays. And Chaz, you won championship rings with the Lakers. You were part of the Lakers organization.
I got 2 rings.
You got 2
it's
rings.
Pretty cool.
With Kobe, right? So
thank you, Kobe.
Yeah, exactly. And so we want to continue to talk a little bit about those stories and your remembrances of him because you were there on the inside. And there's a lot of Raider fans who are Laker fans, obviously because of the LA thing.
Sure.
But it seems like even outside LA, for whatever reason, Raider fans, Laker fans, you think it's primarily because of that LA stint for the Raiders?
With the Raider thing, you always hear it and you see it when the Raiders are on the road, and there's always, 20, 30%. Obviously we talk about the San Diego games where it was like 70, 80% Raider fans. But when I was traveling with the Lakers, it was same thing on the road. I would say everywhere. There wasn't anywhere. Even Boston wasn't. Kobe was getting MVP chants. Imagine a Laker player getting an MVP chant in Boston, like,
That's
Red
incredible.
Auerbach's turning over in his grave. There's no way. So there was always about 30% Laker fans in every arena, just like it is with the Raider fans in every arena. They travel well. Raider fans and Laker fans, you're right. That's what I grew up. Those are my 2 favorite teams. It's just they're historic franchises, and, it just goes together for sure.
All right. So now over the years, because Chaz and I have known each other since high school, by the way, for those of you who don't know, been a long, long time. But so when you and I would hook up when you were out scouting across the country and I lived in Kansas City, we'd meet up when you were in town and all that stuff. And you would tell me great stories about Kobe. By the way, no bad stories, just so people know. I'm not hiding bad stories. There were no bad stories.
No.
But you told me a story. You were saying, hey, we're in Hawaii. You guys were in Hawaii for training camp, right?
Yeah, a few times,
For a few times. And of course, Kobe was always in demand. If Kobe was around, he was going to have a crowd around him.
Right.
And so as a person who's being focused, trying to get ready for the basketball season, he did something very unusual in Hawaii. It's hot. You're wearing shorts. You're doing all this kind of stuff.
Right.
You told me the story about him wearing some headgear to try to stay out of the spotlight. Tell people about that one.
That's right. Well, okay, you said it. So Kobe, and early on it was a little maybe confusing because they thought Kobe wasn't this, wasn't that. The thing with Kobe is he splashed onto the scene so much. He became such a phenomenon right off the bat that he had to kind of build that wall. So people, because everywhere he went, people were grabbing at him and wanting a little piece of Kobe. And, Jerry West said a great, I saw his interview. He was, some words, he was just that kind of person. So he did have to build that wall early on, and it kind of made it hard for the media and people to get with him. So they thought he was maybe abrasive, but he wasn't. He was great. And so that story you're talking about in Hawaii for training camp, it was actually at the Kobe Steakhouse, and we had the whole top floor rented out. Yeah, how funny is that? And so we're all up there, and there's the players over there, and coaches, and scouting group over here, and here comes this guy walking up the stairs with a motorcycle helmet on, and everybody's looking, what the heck is this? And Kobe, it takes off the helmet. It's Kobe walking around with a motorcycle
helmet on.
I mean, that's a pretty good way to go walk. You can walk around Hawaii without getting noticed, right?
Right. Although with the height,
it's a little weird.
And the frame, it's kind of like, all right, who you trying to kid, right?
It's got to be a little conspicuous. But, there's so many great stories we were talking about. I was on the plane, that Laker flight probably 100 times. And I just remember one time we were on the plane. We're waiting for the players to get on. And, I'm in the back with the media guys. I sat in the back where the media people sat. And, the media guys are talking hypotheticals like media guys do. And they're saying like, Steve Nash and Gilbert Arenas could take Kobe and whoever, and then or Allen Iverson and Tracy McGrady could beat Kobe. And right then Kobe was coming up the back stairs and he heard him, and he snapped. He snapped at him. And he's like, I would crush all of them, beep, beep, beep. Yeah. And, you guys are talking nonsense. Of course, a lot of words I can't say on the radio, but, that was the competitor's mindset that he had. You can't even talk hypotheticals around him because he just crushed that.
There's the beep.
I need a few of those.
Well, and Chaz, that's the thing too. You're hearing all these stories too, and you saw there's the video where I forgot who it was who's inbounding the ball, and Kobe's
Matt
in
Barnes.
his face, Matt Barnes, and he does the ball, and Kobe didn't even
flinch.
He didn't even flinch. There's a basketball coming at your head, seemingly.
And the funny thing
that's
is,
how focused he was.
Matt Barnes was on the team a couple years after that, and they became actual good friends.
Good friends, yeah.
And one time I was with the owner Jim Buss. We were after the game. We were at the bar next door, and Kobe's bodyguard came up and said, "We gotta have." And then Jim says, "Okay, look, we're gonna go have dinner with Kobe right now." He's like, and he's nervous. You got to be cool. You can't say anything. We got to go in there. We have to talk to Kobe, and this is gonna be. And so we walk next door, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool, man." Wolfgang Pucks has like this little private room in the back, and I can see Jim's a little nervous and stressed out. You got to talk to Kobe. This guy, and we walk in, and it's just Kobe and Matt Barnes.
About Matt Barnes.
Well, Kobe and Matt Barnes. No, they were in there together. I don't know what they were talking about.
Okay,
Maybe
gotcha.
Renewing his contract or something.
Gotcha.
And it's just Kobe and Matt Barnes sitting in this little private room in the back of the Wolfgang Pucks there, and we walk in and Kobe stands up, "Hey, Chaz, man!" And Jim looks like, "Oh, well, okay, there goes all the nervousness right out the window."
Did you feel like you were like 8 feet high at that point?
Yeah, oh my
that was
God,
pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's a great. Gives me a hug, and then Matt Barnes, so him and Matt Barnes ultimately became good friends. Yeah. After that whole deal, that was a weird one. Yeah,
that's so funny. Again, we're talking about Kobe Bryant here on Silver and Black tonight. Despite the fact that we're a Raider show, we're talking about Kobe Bryant because that's the news, and everybody appreciates who he was. By the way, we got a note. Our producer Mark Bonilla sent us a note. There's going to be a vigil for Kobe. A student group at UNLV is holding a vigil for Kobe Bryant on Wednesday at 8 p.m. and the Student Union courtyard on campus. So if you're in Las Vegas and you're feeling the need, you don't have to be a UNLV student, but it just goes to show you the impact. And Kobe had some great games, including a couple I was at the Thomas & Mack Center. Yeah. He was out here a lot, of course, with Summer League and all that too as well. So he's got and he was a huge supporter of women's basketball. He was out here for Las Vegas Aces games the last couple years that they were here. And was a supporter of that. And Chaz, you these stories are great. Of course, the competitor Kobe Bryant and all that stuff, even people who didn't necessarily like him on the court, all say the same thing as, okay, we respect that. Now, when he was done and he retired and he became full-time father and husband, it changed him. I mean, it changed him from the perspective of he no longer had to put up that guard, as you called it earlier, and he was able to just be a dad and be a husband, and that was amazing. And I think a lot of people suddenly gravitated towards him who might have not liked him because of liking another team or whatever. They suddenly saw Kobe in a different light.
Yeah, and that's the thing I said earlier. I was so glad that people got to see that side of him because that was really him. But, when you get between those lines and he's a competitor and he's at the highest level. So it was great that you got to see that side of him. And Kobe was one of those people that just put his heart and soul into everything he did, obviously a competitor, but, he won that Grammy for his short. I mean, the Oscar for his basketball short. And I've heard so many other stories. He wanted to learn piano to play something for his wife. He wanted to do something romantic, and he learned to play Moonlight Sonata, and all these other things. I'm hearing stories. Whenever he a book that he loved, he wanted to find out who the author was and call the author and find out.
He searched for knowledge constantly. Right?
Always searching. Always just wanted a betterment of that, and betterment for the society, for everybody.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of person he was. He was just always moving forward. Bettering, he definitely left the world a better place.
He did, and one of the things, again, we're remembering Kobe Bryant here on the Silver and Black tonight, and we'll talk a little bit more Raider football, among other things, coming up later. But Chaz, the one thing for me, being a Catholic myself, my kids, my wife, all Catholic. Kobe was Catholic.
Right.
In fact, he went to Mass right before he got on the ill-fated flight on Sunday, which was very nice to hear. That was something he did before he lost his life. But reading the story, of course, of all of the things, because you have to talk about a person in their totality. Right. The allegations he had against him, which were dismissed. And what he learned from that mistake, he called it with cheating on his wife, basically.
Right.
What he learned, and I read a story last night about how his faith had a central part of that, right? And he talked about it a lot. He wasn't one of these guys in your face about religion.
Right.
He just lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that, again, I think that's where Kobe Bryant, for those of you who might not understand, study him a little more, read more about him, watch more about him, because I think you'll find something that you can relate to.
No, total Renaissance man. And, we all make mistakes in life. And, hopefully you learn from it and you become a better person. He obviously did. And the one thing about that, he just under pressure, the playoffs were happening during that trial. And I remember Dr. Buss was chartering a plane for him to go back and forth to Colorado for that trial. And he'd come back, flying all the way back, being in trial in court all day, and then playing in a game that night. And he performed under pressure. I mean, you can't even imagine. Most people would just throw that away like, okay, I've had a tough week. I've gone back and forth to Colorado a couple of times. Now I have to come play in a playoff game, basketball.
Incredible.
Yeah. And he comes in and performs, and that's just, where his head's at. Of course, it's a mistake, and he learned from it, and he became a better person. But you really want to think of the great times. For me, my personal being at, the championships, I was in Orlando for Game 5 when they won. I have Game 7 at Staples, and I got to be in both, the parades. I'm riding up on the float with hundreds of thousands of people. And I actually did get to meet Vanessa, and they had the two daughters at the time. They were probably about 7 and 4, and they were just running around. We had a little family waiting area before everybody got on the buses to go out in the parade, and it's the cutest little daughters. And, just the memories he brought for me. You're hearing all of these people around the world, just all these stories and all these memories and all these great things. For me, I got to be at that 81-point game. Like,
amazing.
Imagine a building vibrating, like, just because of the crowd noise. Like, the crowd was so noisy. It wasn't
activity.
Music. It wasn't pyrotechnics. It was just people losing their minds from what they were witnessing.
Well, and that's the thing, Chaz. And I think in closing, that's the one thing I'll say is that people, have memories of him. We all have memories of celebrities, sports stars, people we looked up to. And so for those of you hurting tonight over the Kobe Bryant thing and his passing, unfortunately, this terrible, terrible disaster, we understand. And we hope you got a little bit of laughter and remembrance here with Chaz's stories.
Hey, Kobe had a relentless pursuit of perfection, and I think everyone can honor him by following his example.
I could not say it better myself. We'll go out, and we just want to say, again, our condolences to the family, to the entire Laker organization, and we want to thank Chaz for sharing his stories. We're going to shift gears and get back to football when we come back here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
We're in conference play, and every game counts.
Harris drives through the lane, Eurostep, left-hand shot for the lead is good.
Don't miss a single minute on the march to tournament time.
Tip follow, no. Battle at the rim, Drew's got it, Nevada wins. Oh, my goodness.
You're home for Nevada Wolfpack basketball in Las Vegas. CBS Sports Radio 1140. Brought to you by Pro Group Management. Stream every game this season through the radio.com app. Just favorites CBS Sports Radio 1140.
It's time to get out with the old and in with the... At Finley Chevrolet, we're receiving dozens of new 2020 Chevys daily, and we have huge incentives on the remaining 2019s in stock. Finley Chevrolet at the 215 in South Rainbow, Nevada's #1 Chevrolet volume dealer. Find new roads.
If you need to sell your house,
Talk to Aaron Taylor.
Stop! Did you know the real estate guy sells...
30 on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
From Allen to Zog and all the Davises, Jacksons, and Woodsons in between, we've got your Raiders covered. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Welcome back to Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Don't forget you can catch us on Sundays. Sunday. 8 to 10 a.m. with Silver and Black Today. That puppy, all year round, 24/7, we never rest. Right. Although we will take a couple weeks off here and there.
What?
Just so you know. But anyway, just want to, again, thank Chaz for sharing his personal stories of being around Kobe Bryant.
My pleasure.
And I hope our listeners and viewers got some good out of that, because I think to hear some positive stories, to hear some positive remembrances when the mourning is still going on is nice as well. So, all right, we're going to shift gears to football, kind of. Raiders football, kind of, here as we bring in our great sponsor and our legal expert, attorney Michael Troiano, of course, TroianoVegasLaw.com. If you have any criminal law issues, whether it's a simple DUI to something more serious, check out TroianoVegasLaw.com, and he will be the guy you want to call. We're going to talk to him now about Antonio Brown. So we go out on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line. So you're on your own newsmaker line, Michael. Welcome, buddy. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Good.
All right. So listen, now Antonio Brown, the one thing, your adopted team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, have dodged this bullet. Because when they start talking about this arrest that we're going to get into now of Antonio Brown, they describe him as former Raider Antonio Brown. He didn't play for the Raiders. He played for the Patriots. He played for the Steelers. But I guess because of Hard Knocks and all the drama, he's known as a Raider because people don't like the Raiders. So anyway, let's get into this. So he's arrested, Michael, 7-time Pro Bowler, of course, who's just been on a downward spiral. He's arrested for burglary with battery and burglary of an unoccupied conveyance and criminal mischief. What is a unoccupied conveyance?
It sounds like it's got something to do with the vehicle, because it's my understanding, based on the information the press has released, this was some sort of mover, and there was a truck involved. So the details are kind of scarce at this point, but it sounds like there was some dispute. I'm kind of speculating here, but I imagine maybe the mother of his children had that sent over to pick up some items, because it's really confusing as to why Antonio and his co-defendant would have such an issue with this. But then again, he's been acting irrational for several years now.
Yes, he has. And as part of this, of course, there was some news in the last few hours. He was placed under house arrest. He was freed by a Florida judge from wearing an ankle monitor and being under house arrest today. A week ago, he was charged with these crimes based on what you talked about, exactly, the moving truck in Hollywood, Florida. But now when you look at what he's done and what he said, the police report says there was an altercation because Brown refused to pay the driver to release household goods. Now, what I want to start with here is clearly we've seen, Michael, throughout all of this, since training camp when he was a part of the Raiders, we've seen just this erratic behavior, right? But what I found curious, and I want to get your opinion as a lawyer, is when they went into court when he got arrested. First of all, he was in what I guess they call now a suicide vest or something like that. Is that something they do when someone has a track record of maybe being just erratic like that? They automatically put them in that when they get into the criminal justice system, or what usually is the reason they do that?
Well, yeah, typically if they have a history and it's documented and known that there's either suicidal thoughts, tendencies, or any sort of mental health issues, that they'll give them extra security and extra maintenance, if you will, to make sure that they're not a harm to themselves or others. Then you have the component that he's extremely high profile, and although his criminal history is not that extensive, at least that we know of, obviously the police department there in Hollywood, Florida, dotted their I's, crossed their T's multiple times to make sure this went down the right way. And I'm sure that jail facility was more than prepared for his appearance, if you will, when he arrived.
Well, and again, we're talking to attorney Michael Troiano. We're talking about Antonio Brown as we visit our police blotter again, and just the story. To me, it's more of a sad story now. I know people, Raider Nation likes to sort of crap on Antonio Brown because he is so erratic and so just random. But the attorney, Michael, I thought this was very strange. I want to get your view, and I know you don't like to pass judgment on other attorneys, especially in states where law is different. But the attorney went in and as part of the statement said, my client does not have any mental health issues. Is that something, if you had a client like Antonio Brown who had exhibited publicly all of these different things, is there a reason as a lawyer you would say that if maybe even it's not true?
He paid you and said that as part of the representation. There's no way no how that we're going to go out and try to blame this on mental health.
Yeah, because to me, I think that's where a lot of people are going, just because someone that has been doing, and in fact, after this court appearance, Michael, he went out and he was boastful again. He came out, took his shirt off, and started singing Kendrick Lamar, the song "God," and saying "I am God," I'm God, or something to that effect, and that he was coming back to the NFL. As an attorney, though, someone facing these charges, how do you can't control your client per se, but that's not something as a lawyer you'd want your client to go do after they just made this appearance, correct?
No, I mean, you don't want your client to say a word. In fact, I tell most of my clients, don't even discuss it with your family or your loved ones, because the only person that you have privilege or private confidential conversations with is myself as your counsel. But then again, it's Antonio Brown, and I'm sure his attorney knows what that comes with, and I'm fairly confident this isn't his attorney's first high-profile client. That just doesn't happen in the world of attorneys, where people with Antonio Brown net worth and celebrity just go into the phone book and hire somebody their first day out of law school. So I'm sure that his attorney knows what's going on. He's dealt with people like this before, and there's just a certain amount of acceptance as counsel that when you deal with clients that are rich and powerful, that you might not have all the client control that you would like. Whereas if somebody was coming into my office, such as Antonio Brown, I would tell him straightforward that's what I would want and I would expect. But again, it's Antonio's world, and we're just living in it.
Correct. And I remember at some point last year you being on national television because one of your clients went a little haywire. So it happens, right? I mean, you can't control people, and you just hope that they do what you advise them to do. But Michael, the other thing too is with this arrest, you have the possibility of felony conviction, and the punishments that could come with that. I know there's a wide range, and the judge will have some opportunity to choose based on what they think is correct in this case. But what kind of time in this situation, not like you said, not having a really deep criminal background, but being high profile, what kind of punishments is he realistically looking at if he were to be found guilty on these charges?
Well, let's say, for example, this happened in Nevada, because I'm not barred in the state of Florida. But if the accusations, and I know there's more or less to this, but if the accusations in this hypothetical are that Antonio and his co-defendant entered the structure, that being the vehicle of this, moving guy, and with the intent to rob him of some sort of personal item that they did not have a right to, you would have at least 2 felonies right off the top. Again, if this is in Nevada, you'd have a robbery for taking the item, and you would also have a burglary for entering a structure, typically a building, but I'm sure there's some creativity there to add some sort of burglary charge for entering the vehicle with the intent of committing that crime. So for robbery in the state of Nevada, if you're not using a deadly weapon, and I don't believe that's came up, so we'll just assume, again, for this hypothetical, it's just robbery by force or threat of force and no actual weapon was involved, then you're facing a potential of 2 to 15 years in prison in the state of Nevada, and the burglary charge in and of itself would be a potential 1 to 10 years of prison.
Wow.
So somebody without his criminal history, or again, assuming that he has a lack thereof of criminal history, hypothetically they could go to prison, but I would imagine that some sort of negotiation would be worked out where probation is involved. But then again, it's Antonio. He might be offered a handshake and a misdemeanor and a $500 fine, and he might tell those lawyers to tell the district attorney's office to kick rocks and go to trial on it. I mean, you just never really No, because the attorney doesn't make that final decision. That's up to the client. All I can do is work the best I can, and I can tell them, hey, this is the best deal we have, and I think that we should take it, or I think we should tell them no and go to trial, and the client makes that final decision.
Just a crazy situation. And again, Michael Troiano, attorney Michael Troiano, TroianoVegasLaw.com, has been joining us talking about Antonio Brown and his arrest, which is crazy to talk about Antonio Brown after we talk about Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant, although he made his own mistake and had some issues with the legal system, learned from them and moved on. Maybe Antonio Brown can look to the tragedy in Kobe Bryant's life and take an example from that. Michael, thank you as always for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, you guys have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. Again, Michael Troiano, attorney Michael Troiano. If you have any criminal law issues, simple DUI to something more serious, give him a call. Check out TroianoVegasLaw.com. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll hear from Mark Bedane. We'll visit with Mo Hurst and talk a little bit about moving to Las Vegas. You're listening to the Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
What's next for your Vegas Golden Knights?
We're in a unique position. We're right in the mix. We know we've underachieved this year so far, and
CBS Sports Radio. Raider Nation rallies with us. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Tonight, a night where we remembered Kobe Bryant. Again, with my good friend, longtime friend and co-host here, Chaz Osborne, who used to work for the Lakers.
Yep.
Was around Kobe. He told us some stories. If you missed them earlier, we will separate them. I'll put up some separate videos and audio of Chaz's stories and his remembrance. It was a great one. And thanks to all of you. Such great comments coming back, and I appreciate all of you as well. So good work. All right, so let's get to Raider football. We have only a few minutes left because we wanted to give Kobe and all of those who perished because let's not forget all of those who perished in the helicopter crash, along with Kobe and his daughter Giana.
Yep.
Remember them with good deeds. That's the important thing. But we want to do some Raider stuff here too. So if you missed our Sunday show a little bit, I want to also point out that this past week, the Raiders became, a week ago tomorrow, became the Las Vegas Raiders. And we were fortunate enough to grab some time with Raiders president Mark Bedane. And I asked him, I said, hey, Mark, how does it feel finally to be the Las Vegas Raiders?
4 years in the making. Exciting that we were able to celebrate the moment with all the workers, the people that are building the stadium, and they're obviously important to us, important to the community. We enjoy all the time that we get with them, and you can see how proud they are of the building and what it means to us, what it means to the Raiders, and then what it means to Las Vegas and the entire state. So it's a pretty special day.
How about the reaction of the players? You know, they're now coming in more obviously with the move finalized. What's been their reaction?
What's been great about it is, for a lot of these guys, it's been 3-4 years in the making. Some of them are newer players, so it's only been a little over a year, but it wasn't real to them. Right, it was often in another city. So the fact that it's now here, they had a chance to go through the Henderson practice facility this morning. They have a chance to see the building and see its impact and its scope and how beautiful it is. I think they'll go back and talk to all the other players. It'll be a good moment.
Lastly, NFL draft news, obviously this week, huge for you guys and for the league. Talk about what Las Vegas is going to see when the NFL draft comes here in April.
Look, this is Las Vegas. They do events better than anywhere in the world. So when we started talking to the league about 2 years ago of what the draft could be here, that vision was laid out, and you saw that vision actually get realized yesterday with that vote. It's going to be spectacular, the visual, the moment for the players and their families as they go across that red carpet. And then to spend that weekend here and do it in Vegas is going to be special for everybody. And then obviously what it brings to the community and all the tourists that are going to come and make a weekend out of it, it's going to be great.
Thanks.
You guys go. Congratulations.
All right, there you go. So Mark Bedane, it's real.
Las Vegas Raiders.
It's still. I tweeted out earlier today a picture of the top of the Raiders website where it says Las Vegas Raiders.
Right.
And it's still surreal.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre for me to even say it. I think maybe because back in the day, I growing up in San Diego, but I was a Raider fan, and then they moved to Los Angeles, and I didn't go around saying the Los Angeles Raiders.
Call them the
just,
Raiders.
You just say the Raiders, yeah. And so when they moved back to Oakland, you don't go around saying Oakland Raiders. So Las Vegas Raiders, you're not going to go around saying, Las Vegas Raiders.
I am now.
Just it's Raiders. But I got to tell you, I got to let go from the Lakers. I think it's been about 2 years now, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of milling around L.A. trying to figure out my next move. And I got to tell you, half the reason I came to Vegas was because the Raiders were coming.
No,
so
that's a very
I'm
common
excited.
story.
I know a lot of people here are excited.
And Mark Bedane mentioned, Chaz, players, and we were able to talk to Mo Hurst, a great young kid. So let's listen before we cut out of here in a little while.
Oh, okay.
Let's listen to what Mo Hurst had to say about coming to Las Vegas and also about his second year in the league and improvement he's seen on the defense.
Blown away by the stadium, the practice facility. It's all top notch, and it's just it's an exciting time to be a Raider, and especially a Las Vegas Raiders. So just really excited to get the season going and get our new home.
Now, if you thought about, you just came in, I know it's a whirlwind tour, but when are you going to start looking for a place to live and start to think about not having to pay all that high rent in California, man?
I've already started to look, and I'm super excited. A lot of great communities out here, and a lot of great people. It's just, it's top of the line.
Now, last year, so your second year in the league, you guys made great progress, especially towards the end of the year, playing really well as a unit. Tell me about the difference between years 1 and year 2 for you as an NFL player.
For me personally, just understanding the game a little bit better, understanding what the offense is trying to do, all my pre-snap reads. I felt like I got a lot smarter with the slides and just understanding the game as a whole.
You guys think you're ready for that next big move? You're going to get some help in the draft and probably free agents, so you'll get that team even more bolstered. How do you feel about 2020 and what's on the horizon?
I think we're going to make moves. I think we're ready to make our push. We gotta play the Chiefs twice a year. They're in the Super Bowl, so we got to come ready to play.
Love that. Make the push.
Yeah,
he's ready.
It's funny you said the high prices in California. That's the other half of the reason I moved out here.
Yeah, I love it.
Man.
Well, Chaz, a couple of things. Number one, let's Sunday 8 to 10 a.m. Silver and Black today. We will be back. It's Super Bowl Sunday, so we're going to spend the show a lot around the Super Bowl.
I'm not going to talk about the Chiefs. I'll talk about the 49ers.
Well, then we'll have Kelly talk about
Yeah.
the Chiefs. But we will talk about the game mostly during the show. We will also revisit some great Raiders Super Bowl moments. Chaz, again, I want to thank you for sharing your personal stories on
my
Kobe
pleasure,
tonight.
yeah.
All right, for Chaz Osborne, I am Scott Branson, and for our producer and engineer, Mark Bonilla, we thank all of you. We feel so lucky and blessed to have all of you, our listeners, our viewers. Without you, we're not here, and we never, ever, ever forget that, and we appreciate that. And go help somebody this week. If you're a big Kobe fan, remember somebody by doing good. For all of them, we'll talk to you on Silver and Black today, 8 to 10 a.m. on Sunday. Take care, everybody.